Hello and welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. This is episode number 29, so that means that we have 28 other episodes already live on the website. We've been having a couple of technical difficulties so far, so if you're just joining in, hopefully we will be able to get going shortly. So we have stopped and restarted the talk, so hopefully things will be able to kick off in just a second. And look, we have somebody on the line. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Sorry about the technical difficulties so far.
It could be on my end.
Who knows? Anyway, the Instagram gods are letting us speak now, so that is the most important part.
Fantastic. You gotta love the Instagram gods when they cooperate, don't you?
Exactly. So I was just letting people know this as far as I can count, this is the 29th episode. We've had you on already, but would you do us the pleasure of introducing yourself again for anyone that might know?
Absolutely. So I'm delighted to be on again. Repeat. I don't know, guest, is that the right word?
Yeah.
But I am Kathy. I'm the face behind Fluffed Mobile Dog Grooming. So I'm a dog groomer. I work remotely, so I work from a van. So my business model is that I come to your house and I groom your dog on your driveway, all that kind of thing. I'm also a pet parent. So I have a cat called Houdini and I have two dogs, two sighthounds. So one is Eve Alerter, who we adopted 3 years ago at the end of this month, and their second one is, the topic of conversation this evening, is Fig, our little Italian greyhound who joined us in November of 2022.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant introduction, and I love the fact that your business model takes out all of the stress for a lot of the stress of grooming, I suppose, in that you drive around to your customers and meet them where they're at, so they don't have to go transporting their dogs around the place. You take care of that. So you already mentioned the topic we want to speak about this evening, Italian greyhounds. Would you mind just giving us an introduction? What are Italian greyhounds, and more importantly, what are they not? Because I presume they get confused with a couple of other breeds.
So they're not whippets, they're not baby greyhounds. I was in the bank recently, and of course Fig comes absolutely everywhere with me, so I had her tucked in under my arm and someone looked at me and was like, "Oh, is it a baby greyhound?" I was like, "No, it's an Italian greyhound." So to look at them, they are like you put a normal standard greyhound into the tumble dryer and shrunk them down. They're pint size. They're the miniature version. They're the toy version, basically, of your standard greyhound. So they look like greyhounds. They're greyhounds, but they're not your standard greyhounds. They weren't bred to race, and they're just fantastic. I think everyone should have one.
And just to underline their size, because I don't think people understand when you say they're small. I mean, they go up to about 5 kilos, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, so a Fig would be maybe 4 kilos soaking wet. So I'll make a lot of references to Fig. Most of my experience obviously stems from my owning one. So Fig will probably be mentioned a lot, but soaking wet Fig is about 3.5 kilos, 4 kilos at an absolute push.
And it's brilliant to have that personal experience as well, because I think you can be very knowledgeable on a book side or say that a dog could be this size or that size, but I think speaking about your own experience is really important as well. And you mentioned, so they weren't bred to race. What were they bred? They've got a they've got a really, really long history, don't they?
They do. Like they kind of started showing up in history about 2,000 years ago, if you can kind of wrap your head around it. And they seem to have kind of originated in kind of Greece or Turkey. I don't really know where the Italian part came from in the Italian greyhounds, but they were kind of bred to be kind of house dogs, like from one part, and on the kind of the second leg of it, they were bred to hunt small game, so rabbits and that kind of thing. Like Fig, our Iggy, has far more of a prey drive than Eve, our lurcher. So if our cat will catch, something like a mouse or a shrew or whatever, and doing as cats do, playing around with it, Fig will be very interested, whereas Eve will go and stick her nose in and kind of be like, "What's this? What do we do this. So you can definitely see it from that point of view with the little Iggy, that she's very interested in kind of the small game. So that's what they were bred for. So they kind of, you see them throughout history and paintings and all of that kind of thing. I mean, there was a lot of, they're in a lot of Renaissance paintings, and my knowledge of art now is very slim on the ground. But they, you know, you see a lot of them in kind of Van Gogh and Picasso and all of that kind of thing. And, you know, there was a lot of royalty had them. They were very much seen as kind of prestigious and elite.
And I'm thinking maybe that's where the Italian reference comes from as well, because, you know, like you say, Renaissance dog, they ended up in a lot of paintings. I saw a lot of Italian names written down as well, like Caravaggio and things like that. So I'm wondering, was it just kind of the, you know, the style at the time in Italy when paintings were being done of royalty?
Maybe like as I say, my art knowledge would be slim on this, would be very, very, very thin on the ground. My dad is very disappointed.
Either way, historically they've been around with a long time. They've been around since biblical times, and they've shown up all over the place, including Italy, but not only Italy. And like, and tell me, like, how popular are they in Ireland? Because I don't tend to see them out and about here a lot, but are they popular here?
No, it's the short answer. I see a lot of people meet Fig. So Fig comes to work with me every day. So a lot of people will meet her and be like, what is she? People don't tend to know what she is, or like that I get, is she a whippet? Is she a baby greyhound? I mean, she's about the third of the size of a whippet. She's teeny tiny. Mm-hmm. So people don't know, they don't understand. I think some people might have a bit of knowledge. Kylie Jenner has some. So people who might follow Kylie or have followed her for a long time, or are interested in the Kardashians, all of that kind of thing, they might see some of hers. I again, I'm not very knowledgeable on the Kardashians. Yeah. So I don't know how much they feature in the program or whatever. But they do have, they are, you know, there. So people, sorry, I'm falling over my words now. No.
They're growing in popularity.
They are growing in popularity. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of people who see them and get to know about them are all of a sudden are very interested in them. You know, people who might not really have any interest in having a greyhound, but they see the pint-sized version and they're like, oh, yeah, I could see myself at one of them. Especially like I think they're growing a lot in popularity on TikTok and that kind of thing, with some of the famous Iggies who get dressed up in all of the outfits, and they've such personality in their little bodies that you know, they can be they're very, very funny, and they're so charismatic for such a little dog.
I presume you're making reference to Tika here.
Yeah, Tika, or there's Ziggy the Iggy, or there's, I think her name is Suka. She's based in Paris. Okay. There's even, I'd like to mention a couple of Irish people accounts. There's Amalfi and Capri, which I think are two of the best names for Italian greyhounds ever. They're based in Kilkenny. And there's, I think it's the Farming Iggy, who's another Irish Iggy. But they're, like, I'd say I could think of maybe 10, possibly 12 off the top of my head of Italian greyhounds who I know of in Ireland. You know, obviously there are going to be some that I don't know of,
sure,
but they really aren't, you know, massive. You know, you wouldn't be walking down the street and you're not likely to see 2 or 3 of them, whereas you might see 2 or 3 people with a golden retriever or a cockapoo or something along those lines.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I get that, and I think you're right. I think once people kind of get introduced to them, they're definitely, I mean, they'll steal your heart very quickly. Someone mentioned in the comments as well that they know a Cork groomer that has three Iggies.
Oh, fantastic!
So it seems to be a groomer's type of dog, small and easy to manage, and short coat.
For the dog groomer, I have 2 smooth-coated dogs just because I didn't want to be dealing with the maintenance of, you know, I love doing Bijans and I love doing kind of the curly coats, but I was like, the thought now of having them hanging over me that I'm like, right, the dog needs to be done.
Whereas when you're doing a 40-day week with long coated dogs, it's probably a relief.
Yeah. Absolutely. The last thing I want to be doing is coming home and plugging in my van to groom my own dog sometimes.
Exactly. And I suppose we've talked a little bit about the size, a bit about the history. So let's talk a bit about their characteristics and their typical personalities, because I think they're quite unique as well in that sense.
They are. So they're quite needy. They're very much like Velcro dogs. And when I was doing my research as to would we get one, what would suit us, that kind of thing, like Iggy's came up, and I was like, you know what? They're just fantastic. They're just fantastic little dogs. But they are very, very needy. I'm in a very lucky position that I can bring Fig to work with me every day. But otherwise, she gets fierce separation anxiety. She just wants to be with you. She wants company. And I think a lot of them can be like that. Other dogs who are more independent. We have like very much an independent dog and a very needy dog. So she is like, she's very, very needy. Sorry, I keep seeing the comments coming out of the corner of my eye and I lose my train of thought.
No.
So they're quirky. Like, one of the funniest things that happened to us when we got Fig, we might have had her 2 or 3 months, that we hadn't heard her bark. And I wasn't expecting her to be a massive barker. But we live out in the countryside and my parents-in-law arrived. And, living out in the countryside, people just walk into the house. It's normal. And Fig absolutely lost her life. She was barking and barking and barking and barking. Whereas a couple of months previously, we'd have our boiler serviced, and Eve, our lecturer, she was thrown in the bed. At the time, I had a broken ankle, so I couldn't do anything. The poor plumber had to come in and do all bits and pieces. And I was like, I'm really sorry, I can't help. And he was, pottering around doing the bits that he needed to do around the house. Eve didn't lift her head from the bed. Then Fig, in comparison, barking at people who she knows well and she sees regularly, she was hilarious.
Okay, so they pack a lot of character into a small little body.
Absolutely. Like, they're just so funny. Any that I've met are just so full of character, and they're just like, oh, let's be friends. They're like little golden retrievers sometimes, that they're very much like, oh, I want to be friends. And then they very much think they're a big dog.
Yeah.
And that they really aren't. And they need to be minded. Like, they're not a dog for kind of family with small kids, really. They're fantastic with kids, but they're just, they're not robust. You can kind of be throwing them around, or you're encouraged as an Iggy owner to train your dog to not jump up on the couches, not jump up on beds, not jump up on you, just because their legs are so thin that they can snap. And you regularly see Iggies who they've gone through surgery, they've had broken legs, they've had, they might have had multiple breaks. And while it's really unfortunate, it is just one of the kind of the downsides of the breed.
They kind of are as breakable as they look.
They, to an extent, extent there.
And I mean, I suppose it's funny because, owning a Frenchie, we expect dogs to be able to just be boisterous and roll around the place. Like, I've mentioned it on loads of these lives that Ruby plays with my sister's Bernese Mountain Dog, and they'd be rolling around the place, and you kind of think impending death is always around the corner, but they always manage to survive. But like, I think the Iggies, you kind of need to look after them. And from so you mentioned kids, which was going to be one of my questions, but how about with other dogs, particularly other bigger dogs? Like, how do they tend to get on with those? Because
I think they have like the big dog mentality, they get on fine. Like, I find that with our little one, she's a little bit nervous of dogs who enthusiastically want to be friends. So my parents have a collie cross who very much wants to be her best friend, and she's kind of like, I don't know how to cope with this, it's kind of all part of her history, which is I won't go into. But any other ones that I have met when I've been out and about, kind of events, pups in the park, that kind of thing, they're straight over and kind of like, who? I want to be friends. Who are you? What do you smell like? And I think they're okay with other dogs, but I like that. I wouldn't be leaving them kind of just roll around with a Bernese.
Yeah.
The Bernese their paw is about the same size as their head.
Exactly.
They could squash them. And like, Fig tried taking on a Bernese Mountain Dog pup a couple of weeks ago in Starbucks, and I was like, he is about 72 times bigger than you. Maybe let's dial that back a small bit, please.
Yeah. And then for strange people as well, they're probably into the human interaction then, right?
They are into the human interaction. So what I found with them is they tend to kind of imprint on one human. So Fig is very much my dog, which is lovely, but she will kind of she'll almost check in with me to make sure it's okay to go to other people, and like that with her history and the whole lot, that she's a nervous little creature, but she's fantastic. So she'll go to other people. She'll run over to other people, go out and sniff their hand or take a treat or whatever, and then she'll run back to me. And it's almost like she's running a relay race. She's going between the two of us.
Yes.
But any other ones that I've met while out and about, they've been totally happy to kind of say hi, have a rub, have a scratch, whatever, take a treat, you know. They're quite happy with other people, and they can be really, really sociable. Like when I was doing all my research before Fig joined us, they're very sociable. They're supposed to be a very sociable breed. I haven't seen that from my point of view, but it is generally a characteristic of them.
Well, we do see that anyway with dogs in general. I mean, every dog has their own personality, just like humans, and they will have slight differences. But as an overall, I mean, we do have to make generalizations as well to talk about a topic. So that's fair. And like, so would you say being quite an outgoing dog in general and tending to like communication and as long as they're kind of with their main human, that they're kind of happy, do you think they make good city dogs, good apartment dogs as well? I mean, obviously lots of dogs do well in the countryside, but would these be more suited to kind of city?
I think it's breaking up a small bit. You just broke up a small bit on me.
Sorry, I'm back again. I was saying, would these be suitable more than other dogs for city living?
Absolutely. They sleep about 18 hours a day. Oh. So they're very much like they're very much like greyhounds. I know one of your first Tuesday talks was with Zoe and Noel, who talked about greyhounds, and they are incredible apartment dogs. They're so small that they just want to be curled up into a little ball with a blanket thrown over them. Once Fig gets a blanket over her head, she'll settle straight away anywhere. So they're like, for an apartment, for living in the city, they're absolutely perfect. And my only concern with Fig in the city, or any Iggy in the city, is that someone won't see her and just stand on her toes.
Yeah.
that would be my only concern. But once you're not walking down Times Square, I'm sure you'll be fine.
And I was going to ask about busy places like Cork's Marina Market, like larger dog events, even in Dublin. I get that they're kind of squashable. I mean, we even get that with the Frenchies and with lots of other small dogs. They just might be overseen in the crowd. But do they tend to get on also okay with louder environments than other breeds?
Can be quite sensitive, so some of them will be absolutely fine, more of them will be a little bit nervous. Any Iggies that I have met have been at events and they've been absolutely thriving. They've been, quite happy to be out and about and having a bit of fuss and seeing what's going on, because they're sighthounds at the end of the day. So they're quite happy to be looking and watching and the whole lot. So even I noticed with Fig, if I have to leave her in the front of the van while I'm working, if I'm working with a reactive dog or anything like that, she's quite happy to be looking out the window and to be seeing what's going on and taking it all in. So they are like, with loud noises, like I know that if I drop something in the kitchen or anything like that, Fig is, she's making a beeline for the door. She can't cope with loud noises. But if we're in the city, if we're in the Marina Market or anything like that, I mean, she's more interested in what she can steal off the floor than being too stressed. True. So, they do cope.
Yeah, no, and I'm just trying to kind of frame the breed kind of as to who it might be interesting for. So I could definitely imagine people that are kind of living that modern city life and kind of going out for coffees and things like that. They'd be
they're fantastic to go out for coffees and stuff, because like even if you're going in somewhere that's not dog friendly, like the bank, they're so small that you can pick them up or you can put them on your lap or anything like that. But they're a very easy city dog. Like, I mean, the only place I was ever asked to leave with Fig was Dunn's, because you're not really supposed to have dogs in Dunn's.
Yes, so they'll have the HRC down on top of them. Yeah, exactly. Okay, and the other thing I was going to ask, so energy requirements, are these similar again in that sense to the greyhounds, where they might like a quick sprint somewhere, and otherwise kind of your 2 shorter walks a day will keep them very, very happy?
Absolutely. There's like a big difference I've noticed between Eve and Fig is that Fig is absolutely obsessed with her tennis ball. So she will run, she will chase her tennis ball for hours and hours and hours, but they don't need it. Like they're very much like a greyhound, that quick sprint around the garden, quite happy. A couple of small 20-minute walks here and there, quite happy. Once they have company, their kind of destructive tendencies tend to fall by the wayside. Once they're with someone, they're quite happy. They're very like, they're such a low maintenance breed from that point of view. They don't need a massive amount of walking. Their coat care they don't need a massive amount of coat care. They're very low maintenance from that aspect. They just need a human around. That would be the only kind of drawback, I suppose.
The emotional attachment.
That's it. They mightn't be suitable to people if people are going out to work all day, or that kind of thing. They're kind of only like toilet training can be another issue with them. They can be quite difficult to toilet train.
We'll get on to issues in a second. I have a question about that. But before we move on there, I wanted to ask about enrichment, because you mentioned, you mentioned a couple of things actually, that their little minds do need that bit of extra attention so that they keep going. You mentioned that they can have quite a strong prey drive. So are we looking at the kind of the part of the predatory sequence where the chase and the catch and the tug of war and maybe even dissection is kind of interesting? Is that what is it? You mentioned the tennis ball, so is it the chase and the catch really where they're really interested?
I think it's the chase and the catch, because that is essentially what they were bred for, and they were bred for hunting small game. So the likes of your rats and your mice and your rabbits and your hares and that kind of thing. I mean, a hare would be bigger than them. So it really is the very, very small game. But I think now, I'm not a dog psychologist and the whole lot. So I think it is the chase. Like Fig is absolutely obsessed with her tennis ball, and she'd get far more out of running around with a tennis ball than a licky mat. I mean, for a dog that's so food motivated, he is far. She throw the tennis ball for her for 10 minutes, and she comes in and she's absolutely knackered, and all she wants to do is sleep, and she'll sleep for hours. Whereas Eve, our other dog, she has no interest in chasing a tennis ball. She wants to be chased. So if she's having a free run, she wants someone to run after her, and once she's someone to run after, she's quite happy. So, but then she'll come in and she'll be like, hey, what's going on? So, licky matter, something matter, something along those lines will settle her. Whereas Fig is not really interested in them, to be honest.
Yeah. And for Ruby, it's even further along. Then it's she really, really wants the tug of war. She wants to be pulling at something. It's that kind of end of it. So tennis ball will be interesting, but definitely tug of war wins in her eyes. So it's really interesting to see that. Okay, let's get on to those problems, because they've been low maintenance so far. But are there any common health concerns or any training issues that tend to come up again and again and again with Iggy's? And how can potential owners think about these things in advance?
So health concerns, their teeth are definitely a concern. So like with your full-size greyhound, they can have dental issues. So you just really need to keep an eye on their teeth and how clean they are. Really keep an eye on it. And we were advised we were getting their vaccines at both are due a dental. So regular dentals, just making sure that the vet is having a look. What do they think? Do they, are they doing okay? Should, can we, push it out by another 12 months? What do they think? So it is definitely something to be aware of and to keep an eye on. We try to kind of minimize it with things that they can chew on. So, give them, a pig's ear, or if, some other chews, pig's ear is the first thing that comes to mind. Something that they can really kind of get their teeth into, to really help clean it. Or what we were recommended by a vet as well is good quality kibble. And good quality kibble will help cleaning their teeth, which I would never have thought of, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
The kibble is definitely one. And then training wise, they're incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
So intelligent. So they're very good with kind of trick training and that kind of thing. But when it comes to toilet training, it can be a totally different conversation, because they're little divas.
Okay.
So sometimes the Irish weather isn't particularly accommodating to it. And if it's raining, they mightn't want to go outside. If it's windy, they might want to go outside. If it's cold, they might want to go outside. So some people will litter train them like you'd litter train a cat.
Yeah.
And that's one idea. Some people will, use puppy pads. And then some people like us will just keep persevering with the, no, if you want to go to the toilet, you go outside. We're nearly there with Fig. She is more or less toilet trained in our house. Sometimes if she goes to my parents' house, it's a different story. But it's sometimes, there could be other things involved in that. There could be nerves. There could be, a bit of marking of territory. The whole shebang. But toilet training is definitely a concern with them. An issue, not as opposed to a concern.
Yeah. No, and that's fair. I think every dog breed is allowed to have a little concern like that, because there's others with such bigger issues. And I suppose one of the other things I wanted to say about them was they're shaking. Apparently, their shaking isn't always that they're cold or terrified. I think sometimes they just shake, right?
Yeah. Sometimes they just shiver, or because they're so slender that they just look terrified, and they're hilarious. Like, their ears are absolutely hilarious. So sometimes if you have a dog, if you see one with their ears back and their little tremble, you're kind of looking at them and you're like, "Are you okay?" And they're quite happy. They're quite content. It's just a gesture,
Yeah. Exactly. So they just shake, and sometimes, yes, they're cold, and sometimes they are scared, but sometimes they're just shaking. I saw this as well as I was kind of reading. And another thing, if people are interested in Italian Greyhounds, like we mentioned, they're not the most popular breed in Ireland. Are there reputable breeders around? Do they tend to show up in any of the rescues, or are they kind of fewer and more far between? Where can people kind of seek these out, and what kind of resources could they be looking for?
They are few and far between. There are obviously reputable breeders, but to be perfectly honest, I would be going to the Kennel Club. If you were looking to buy a pup, I would be going to the Kennel Club and registering your interest with the Kennel Club, and the Kennel Club then will be able to let you know when there's a litter due and all of that kind of thing. There are people who are breeding them without the dogs being Kennel Club registered and the whole lot, and that's an entirely separate issue, but it does happen. You will know if you're looking at Dog Study or whatever. There's a big difference in price. The most recent difference I saw was €1,100, which is massive.
Yeah.
For a Kennel Club registered pup versus a non-Kennel Club registered pup. I have never seen one in a rescue. I have seen an Iggy cross show up once, but I've never seen a full bred Iggy show up. But that just goes to show is kind of their scarcity. In Ireland. I mean, I'm a big Facebook group person, so I'm in a Facebook group for Iggy's and for Iggy's, and a lot of the members would be from the States, and Iggy's pop up in rescues in the States left, right and centre, and they're like breed specific rescues for Italian Greyhounds. So that's there's such a difference in between Ireland and the States. But Iggy's nearly went extinct in Europe during World War II. So it was kind of the American breeders really had to kind of repopulate the breed. So that's maybe one of the reasons why they're far more popular in the US than they would be
Yeah.
here. Maybe.
No, and I suppose, I mean, Ireland, as much as we try to compare ourselves to the States, I think we're so much smaller as a country.
Oh, 100%.
It's just difficult to, you know, I think to have any sort of a, you know, kind of a lesser known breed to have their own rescue would just be impossible in Ireland. So you know, just given the size of our human population. Yeah, so I suppose just to wrap things up, have we covered quite a lot? Do you feel like we've covered a lot about the Italian Greyhound? Have we done them justice? And are there any final kind of closing thoughts that you have to people that might be more interested in the breed?
They are absolutely fantastic little pets. They really are. I was questioning if we'd made a mistake when we got a second dog, just because it was a learning curve with Fig being so needy. But now that she comes to work with me every day, she's an absolutely fantastic dog. She has so much character. She's hilarious to look at. I was doing a long drive before Christmas, and I didn't have Fig with me because I'd been away for the night, and I was like kind of looking at the passenger seat all the way down, like, where's the dog? They're just such good company, and they nearly talk to you. Like, I can highly recommend them. And if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to DM me, or even I post a lot on, I say a lot, I might post once every 2 weeks. And my dogs have a social media account as well. If you know people.
What's the handle for that account?
It's at @Eve_Fake, at Eve_and_fake.
Yeah.
Just to make things complicated. But I post, you know, stuff on there. You know, people will regularly stop me and be like, can I take a picture of her, you know, about Fig? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I mean, it won't be a great picture because you look at you and like she's terrified. So there's good pictures on my Instagram account if you want to look over there. But no, they're a fantastic breed, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a shout.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all that information about Italian Greyhounds. You've definitely piqued my interest. This is my problem every time I talk about a specific breed. I end up wanting to add them to the collection that I have in my
So we've a Frenchie, a Greyhound, a Great Dane.
I know the list is growing. I need if anyone wants to donate a ranch, I'd be more than happy. So thank you very much, guys. If you're interested in listening to more about Kathy had to say about dog grooming, the episode is up on our website. We also would like you to start following Fluffed Up Dog Grooming on Instagram. And if you're not following us, we are Ruby Reese Official on Instagram. Thank you very, very much once again.
Thanks, Millie, for having me.
Looking forward to chatting with you again soon.
Chat soon.
And have a great evening.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Killian. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.